I was assaulted and left for dead, but what happened next was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. As I slipped away into the afterlife, I found myself in a place that defied all logic and understanding. It was a world without time, where every thought and idea was known to me, and the voice of God spoke to me with a message that would change my life forever. This is the story of my incredible journey back from the brink of death and the inexplicable events that followed. In 1996, I was assaulted and left in critical condition. I don't remember any of this. It was just a normal Friday afternoon, and then I was on a gurney being held upside down, vomiting blood. I lost consciousness shortly after being put in the ambulance. That's when I had my death experience. I was alive one moment, and the next I was not. I knew this because I was no longer in my body, though I wasn't floating above it or traveling through a tunnel of light to heaven either. It is impossible to describe what I did experience because there are no words or concepts in the real world that match. The best I can do is say what I know about it and what it felt like. I was in a place that is no place. It was the center of all places at once, outside the known universe or our understanding of it, and encompassing the entire universe. There was no time in this place. Every moment of history and the present and the future were unfolded before me as one monumental event, starting with the creation of the universe and ending. I experienced something entirely impossible and indescribable, a sensation without perception or awareness without sensation. There was no hot or cold or light or dark or movement or lack thereof. There was only awareness of everything. I knew every thought and every idea that every person had ever had or would ever have. These were like voices, though there was no sound. So how could they be voices? It was like being in a crowded restaurant and being able to overhear multiple conversations distinctly. I could follow each one without any distractions from the others. Then all of that faded away, and there was one emotion, the only one I experienced through the whole event. Peace, complete and permeating peace. The total lack of all emotion, sensation, and thought. All things exist in contrast with their opposites. Without darkness, there can be no light and vice versa. No hot without cold, no pleasure without pain, no love without hate. This is the way we experience the world, through perception of varying degrees of opposites. This is the curse of man, that we enjoy the summer only because we know the winter is coming. We love and are loved because we hate and are hated. And because all things are known only through contrast, we never know peace unless all these things have been erased, which is only possible through the death of our bodies and the end of our perception and experience and knowledge. This event, for it wasn't an experience, lasted the smallest fraction of a second, and also the entire existence of the universe. I drifted in eternal peace. Then I heard the voice of God. It was as relaxing as sleeping late on a Saturday morning and waking to the sound of birds chirping outside the window, and the soft scent of lilacs and roses carried on a gentle early summer breeze, and the warm sun shining on your naked body. And as powerful and frightening as lightning, striking the very foundation of the building in which you are standing. He said, "It is not your time to be here, but you may stay if you choose. I have work for you if you choose to return. I didn't want to leave, but when God speaks, you obey. I know I was given a choice, and I chose the pain and misery of earthly life over the absence of all but peace." I sometimes wonder about that choice, but I think I made the choice long before it was put in front of me. I know I have work to do, that's why I came back. I just hope I am ready when the time comes. I woke up on a gurney in the hospital where doctors were explaining to my mother that I would probably die in the coma I was in. They didn't know how I could still be alive. I sat up and was pushed back down because they thought I was having a seizure until I spoke. I was asked a barrage of questions like, "Do you know what day it is? And do you know who the president is?" And asked to count to 10 numerous times, which I did in 4 different languages. The questions stopped. My skull had been fractured and my head resembled a large misshapen pumpkin. I had 3 broken ribs, bruised kidneys, spleen, and liver. I was bleeding internally and the doctors didn't know where yet. I said I was going to go to sleep, but not to worry. I would walk out of the hospital in less than 24 hours. I closed my eyes and I could feel the healing. I could feel what was wrong with my body and where. I felt the blood flow and nutrients going to the areas that needed it and away from areas that were bleeding. There was something or someone willing my flesh and bones to grow back together. When I had a CT scan, the technicians ran another because the readings were so strange. There was no brain damage whatsoever, which was considered impossible given the extent of my injuries and how long my brain had been without oxygen while I was clinically dead. Also, there was a never-before-seen high delta wave reading that could only be explained if I had experienced REM sleep, and even that was a stretch, even though I was conscious and talking the whole time. That night, I woke up at one point to see my doctor sitting in a chair in my room. I told him he could go tend to someone else if he needed, that I was going to be fine. He said, "I know, but what's happening to you is unbelievable. You should be dead. I cannot turn my back on a miracle. God has granted me the opportunity to witness it, and I simply cannot walk away." Later, I discovered that the doctor's daughter had been in a car accident and had sustained similar injuries. He had been questioning God, and he believed that what was happening before his eyes was God's response, reaffirming that he was still present. I was admitted to the hospital at 2:17 p.m. and released at 1:44 p.m. the next day. They said there was no explanation for my recovery, but there was no reason to keep me any longer. I was supposed to see my doctor every 2 weeks for the following 6 months to track any long-term effects of my injuries. After the first physical and the tests, the doctor sat down in the exam room inside. I asked him timidly, "What was wrong?" And he said, "Nothing, just that nothing. There is nothing in my medical training or experience that can account for your recovery." He explained to me how bones heal, that the immune system goes crazy making new bone and there is a large knot of bone where there was a break. This will eventually dissolve over time, but the process takes months, and sometimes there is a permanent enlargement of a bone that has been broken. He said after 2 weeks he couldn't tell that I had even had one broken bone, let alone 3 ribs and 2 in my skull. All I can say is, "Do you believe in God?" The event drove me crazy. I really believe that. I'd experienced things completely outside the realm of human understanding. I heard the voice of God. I've looked everywhere since for the peace I had experienced. It's been over 20 years since that fateful day, and I still think about it often. The assault, the coma, the death experience, and the miraculous recovery. It's a story that I've shared with many people over the years, and it never fails to leave them in awe and wonder. In the years that followed my recovery, I dedicated myself to finding answers. I studied physics and biology, trying to understand the mysteries of the universe and the human body. I explored various religions and spiritual practices, seeking the peace that I had experienced during my death experience. But as much as I searched, I never found a concrete answer. The more I learned, the more I realized how little we truly understand about the world around us. And the more I explored, the more I realized that the peace I had experienced was something that couldn't be explained by words or concepts. Despite the lack of answers, I never lost my faith. I continued to believe that there was a higher power at work in the universe and that my experience had been a gift from that power. And over time, I came to realize that the true value of my experience wasn't in finding answers, but in how it had changed me as a person. Before my assault and coma, I had been a typical young adult, focused on my own goals and desires. But after my experience, I felt a sense of purpose and connection to something greater than myself. I knew that I had been given a second chance at life and that I had a responsibility to make the most of it. Over the years, I've tried to live up to that responsibility. I've dedicated myself to helping others, both through my work and in my personal life. I've tried to spread kindness and compassion wherever I go, knowing that even small acts of goodness can have a ripple effect in the world. And while I've never again experienced the same sense of peace that I felt during my death experience, I've come to realize that it's not something that can be chased or found. It's something that arises naturally when we let go of our attachments and embrace the present moment. In many ways, my experience was a reminder of the fragility and preciousness of life. It was a wake-up call to appreciate the beauty and wonder of the world around us and to cherish the moments we have with the people we love. As I reflect on the past 20 years, I'm grateful for every moment of my life, both the good and the bad. I'm grateful for the people who have come into my life and for the lessons I've learned along the way. And most of all, I'm grateful for the gift of life itself. It's a precious and fleeting thing, and I know that I will never take it for granted again. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below letting me know what you think. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you know someone who would enjoy this video, don't hesitate to share it with them. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me create more content that you'll love.